think it'll be easier with the introduction, because then if you do it a few times, you'll start to learn it. And it's hard on the phone to have it on 2 tabs. Okay. So we'll just get an introduction. So that's page 1. Yeah? Om Gyana Timradasya Gyananjana Sankhya Kaksunam Militam Yena Tasme Sri Guru Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapandikam Pandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sadhana Ragnata Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parchijaya Prasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Viksa Samjidamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopikanta Radha Kanta Samustate Atakancha Gaurangi Radha Vrinda Vaisari Visabhalu Sutta Devi Pranamai Hari Priya Vanchakalpatru Bhischa Kripanjuna Evacha Vachakarnaya Pamanaveo Vaishnaveo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Saraswati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So we're on chapter 7, verse 5. So anyone needs it, they can borrow from me, I know this verse pretty well. So you got it here. I pray to our chapter 7, verse 5. Akritam Vidi Me Param Jiva Bhutana Mahabhavu Jayadam Dharati Jagat. So chapter 7, verse 5. Yeah.
Verse 5?
Yeah, chapter 7, verse 5. So pretty much you can read.
Aparayam itastva anyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat.
Yeah.
Dharyate jagat.
Translation? Do you mind? Can you? Come, it's okay. Imagine we're just in the living room.
It's not a mistake. There's no mistakes here. You can read.
Besides these four mighty armed actions, there is another superior energy of mind which compromises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this martial inferior nature.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So a few weeks, Hare Krishna, wonderful. So a few weeks ago we were looking at what is surrender, and towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "If you surrender unto me, mam ekam, you surrender only unto me. I will deliver you from all sin, and there is nothing to fear." Yeah. So we have that chapter 18, verse 66. Yeah. So the question is, how do we surrender? Right. Surrender everything unto me. Mama ekam edam papa bhava, I will deliver you from all sin. Masuja, do not worry, do not have any anxieties, I will deliver you once you surrender. So how do we get to that stage? So this verse is, the important part of this verse is to understand surrender, we need to understand what is not surrender. Otherwise you don't know what surrender means in this context, right? So the important word here is the word dharyate, yeah? Which means is utilized or exploited. Okay? So what Krishna is saying is we are the superior energy of Krishna, so we're the living entity, and we are here exploiting the inferior nature. Okay? So I'm going to put this on the board, and I'm going to put this as the unsurrendered position. Okay? Okay, so this is our unsurrendered position. So I'm going to come up, I'll just move it. unsurrendered. Oh, really slowly, okay? Unsurrendered means exploiting material nature. Okay? For my pleasure. Okay? For my pleasure. Okay? My pleasure. Okay? So, all children's books start with a sentence, once upon a time. So, once upon a time, there was spiritual world, and that's all there is. There's Krishna in there, having a party. Okay. Okay. With all his friends. Right? And these red friends were blue, but they became red because they decided to be naughty. Okay? And they decided, we want to enjoy for ourselves. Right? To stay in here, you have to enjoy for Krishna. Don't live for Krishna. That's the rule. Okay? So these guys went red. They went, oh, we don't want to do that. We want to enjoy for ourselves. Right? So there was this little black, it's actually called a black spot, appeared, right? In which Krishna goes, okay, well, I really do want you to come back and play with me. So I'm going to have to teach you it's not a good idea to go off on your own. Okay? So he goes, I'm not going to kill you or anything like that until it creates a black spot. Very black. Black spot. Okay, so that became the material world, right? And that's called the 25% manifestation. All 25% of roughly all living entities are in this black spot, 75% are in the spiritual world. Right? And that happens by Krishna, right? Because of his unlimited powers, he immediately creates another Krishna called Balarama, or something, right? Right? And that person, to cut the story short, creates 4 people, which then creates one person, which creates another 4 people, and one of those 4 people creates something called Karana Daksaya vision, right? And this Maya vision goes into this black spot and lies there, and fills it up with like a cause motion, and out of him come trillions of universes, all with other little visions in them. And these naughty people get sucked in, basically end up through his glass in there. Right? And I don't know if you've ever watched Superman or Batman or Spider-Man or any of these things. Right? There's a thing called the origin story of the hero, right? But this is our origin story, right? The prequel of our existence. Right? So this is our origin story. How do we end up here? Now, because Krishna has unlimited personality types, sub-personalities, all those sort of things, the people who have these kind of different range of desires, through him only do they get different forms of bodies, through this Mahavishnu, right? So that's all coming from he's the original coder of the software, that's all coming from him, right? So imagine you've got the Olympic final of 100 metres, and there's 12 really fast guys, right? And they're all very, very fast. And what Krishna's done is he's got this bag of sand, and he's gone, the amount of the sand you have depends on how fast you go. So he just gives, you've done quite well over the last few lifetimes, I can give you more sand than the other guys. And gives the other sand, other guys a bit more sand as well, so they're all quite fast. But this guy has more sand, right? Which comes as his nature. His nature is to train harder or whatever. That comes from Krishna, right? So everything here that we see around us can only exist if it exists in Krishna. It cannot exist otherwise, right? That includes the colour of that wall, our appreciation of the colour of that wall, the painting, his own appearance in this room. He decides that he wants to be here as a deity in his form. He may not want to, then he won't be here. So his control, he has 100% control of the material world, right? I'll stop there for a minute. Okay. Now, the one way to look at what we're doing here every week in the temple classes, is looking into something called jnana yoga, knowledge yoga, right? And one of the real purposes of jnana yoga, right, is to understand how much Krishna is actually in control of this material world, right? Because if we understand that he's completely in control, our understanding of whether to surrender and how to surrender will change, okay? Because our problem is that we don't want to surrender, we want to enjoy for ourselves. But somebody actually explains to us, no, you can't actually do any of this, this is a hallucination, and this is how the hallucination works. And you're going to go, well, I'm not completely stupid, I don't want to live in a hallucination. I want to kind of do something about it, right? So the reason we don't surrender, because our origin story, is because we want to enjoy for ourselves, right? And because everyone out there is in a mode of ignorance, they don't understand, they don't actually have the control they're exercising. Krishna's only given them that control, allow them to control themselves and think they're doers, so they can eventually get kicked in the face 1,000 million times, so they can go, this isn't a really good idea. Okay? That's all been set up because he has love for all living entities. Right? So he's gone out of his way to create this whole thing. Right? Yeah. So if you're listening about this, if you're just discussing Bhagavad Gita, you're like, you finally made your way, every single piece of transport broken down, and you made your way to the airport for your flight. So you've actually got to the airport. So now you're going to sort of decide whether you're going to stay in a coffee shop and miss your flight, or whether you're going to actually get on a plane and go back to the spiritual one. And that's what you're sort of doing at the moment in your life, right? So, but we have to understand, right, the fact that we are not in actual control at all. Right? And when that little thing drops in our head, you know, like, I'm good at Madringa, but I'm only good at Madringa because Krishna has given me that ability. I can't do anything on my own. Right? We can't actually even breathe in a moment without Krishna allowing it. Right? He's the super soul of all our hearts, right? So there is no independence actually, right? So imagine I want an ice cream, I want to enjoy for myself an ice cream, right? I'm going to go, well, that's a hallucination because, like, Krishna's only put that there because of my own previous karma. I go and buy the ice cream. So do I want to spend my karma buying an ice cream? Or do I want to spend my karma doing something else that I could do for Krishna? Right, so we always have these choices all the time, right? And what we have to learn is our own pattern of exercising this freedom, these choices. How we do it, or how we abuse and not abuse that. Right? And the more we focus on moment to moment what our actions are doing, the more we'll be able to purify ourselves. Okay? So.
Yeah, so, like, at all times, how can I not feel that joy? Because just, let's say, after a long day of work, I'm coming here, I have a pit stop, quick, I am hungry,
Yep.
and I have a desire to have a cheesy fry.
Yep.
So it's my desire and my hunger. And I mean, I know, but it is, I'm feeling hungry. I know I want to eat something. And then I have a certain idea, okay, of all these things, I want to have these. That means I want to have a certain flavor or whatever. So it is satisfying my hunger of cheesy fries at the moment. Of course, I'm conscious of remembering Krishna, maybe not at all times, but I try and do that. But at that moment, it's my hunger and my desire to have.
Okay, very brilliant question. Very important question, okay? Because one element of good sadhana, good practice is, I speak for myself as well, right? There are times when I am naughty, I go and have lunch in a cafe, right? It doesn't happen like it used to happen, but it does happen, right? But normally, I know I'm going to be hungry. So I know that I'm going to create my prasadam in the morning. I'm going to create my sandwich for Krishna in the morning, so I can then have it for lunch. I don't allow myself, like, as you advance in Bhakti, you don't put yourself in a situation where the allurement comes. That is one of the kind of important steps of developing your Bhakti. Keshava Swami used to call it, he used this phrase called cost. There's a cost of not planning ahead, right? So there used to be monks in the temple that used to go, oh, I always end up going and kissing a girl, like, or when I go out in the temple or whatever. And they go, why? Oh, because I end up near this bar, I end up going in or whatever. And they just start off on the journey, right? And you just go to them, well, don't go down that road where there's a bar, right? Until you won't do that, you know, until you develop that habit. So in sadhana, we have to go, what am I likely to, this is how I develop my sadhana, or anybody else, for that matter. What are my temptations, and how can I plan to avoid those? Because I always want Krishna to enjoy, not myself. So we actually plan these things in advance by knowing ourselves. That's what we have to. So our first step is to know ourselves. Yeah. So you don't have to, like, I can go and have, I can just often go and have chips or pizza or something, but I'm not going to do it because I have to go through a whole process of making food for Krishna for me to eat. And so today, if I'm not going to make food for Krishna, I just decide not to eat. If I had a melon from Prasad and melon from here, that's all I ate. Because otherwise I can't, for me I can't eat if Krishna's not eating with me. Right? It doesn't happen. So that's what you're going to aim for. And so you'll work out, actually, you know what, if I go home and I'm really tired, I'm going to watch Netflix, right? Because what happens to people cognitively is as they get more tired, their willpower drops, and all that bad habits then come in, right? And as they develop, they go, oh, I don't want to get myself tired, so I don't do those things. One of the biggest reasons why people can't get up early to go to arti, the biggest reason, is because it's very simple. Half an hour to an hour before they go to sleep, they look at a phone or a tablet. And what that does is it decreases your melatonin in your body, right? And if your melatonin, the only way you can go to sleep is your melatonin rises as you fall asleep, because that triggers your body to drop its temperature and then you fall asleep, right? So if they're looking at a tablet, their melatonin is going to be very, very low. They won't be able to go to sleep. The only thing they can do then is have an extremely hot bath and lower the temperature of the room and go into the room. And they have to go through a whole biological thing. If they don't like science like I do, they'll never figure that out. So just be like, I can never get up for arti, I can never go up and do japa. But they're not following the processes, right? And they're not going, I really want to get up for Krishna, so let me find out what's going wrong. Okay? So bhakti fuels desire, and desire fuels bhakti, right? But initially you have to be very careful with yourself, because you're not like at the stage where, like, you know, there's, again, when I go to class on Saturday here, at the Srimad Bhagavatam class, I gave the example, Devrabhrita Swami said in a class 15 years ago, that he was at the dentist, and they said to him, we're going to pull your tooth out, scrape your tooth, sorry, we can put you under the anaesthetist, under the injection, so you won't feel anything, but your whole face will be numb for like 48 hours. But you could probably do this without that. So he opened his mouth, lay back, and said, no, I don't want the local anaesthetist in my mouth. So they didn't do it. And they started scraping his tooth, and they hit a nerve, right? And he was about to go, oh Krishna, help me, right? And he's a very advanced devotee, right? So, but he didn't do it. He went, I'm about to ask Krishna for something. I'm not allowed to because I'm a pure devotee, right? I'm here for Krishna's pleasure. I can't ask him for anything. So he had to just grit and go, oh, and he was really annoyed with himself for even starting to think that in his head, right? So that's quite an interesting example for us. Right? So what we need to understand is what is making that hunger through Jnana Yoga, okay? Yeah. What's making the hunger is the fact that you've got a human body. Yeah? The fact that you've got a human body is that you spend trillions of lives in the material world, and a human body has particular desires, right? It likes chili food, it likes, deep fried potatoes, whatever it is, right? And initially you have to go, okay, I'm going to offer that to Krishna, I don't enjoy that, it's my tongue, I don't have a control over that, and you won't have a control because you've had that for trillions of lives. You can't suddenly turn up to Hare Krishna movement and go, I can now stop eating all my best foods and watching my favourite TV programs. It doesn't work like that, right? Only through bhakti can you reduce the impact of previous lives. That's what you're actually doing when you're doing sadhana, okay? So what you then eventually will go is, I'm going to change my whole diet. I'm going to look at what Prabhupada used to make for Krishna, and that's going to be my diet. Because that's what Krishna wants to eat, right? And that's a gradual process. So if I find something in my bhakti and I go, okay, I need to change that I've been doing that for me for my whole life, through parents or whatever it is, through upbringing, I know to do that thing for Krishna. I will go through a transition phase. This is an experience, don't do it straight away, otherwise you just do it once or twice and forget about it. You do a transition phase where you transition in 3 or 4 months to change the habit. And then that's another thing you've cured that you were doing wrong, that you were doing for yourself. So what everyone has to have is like a notebook, right? Occasionally Swami talks a lot about this, especially now in the modern way of dealing with these things, or modern techniques. So you write down, I do occasionally have chips because I feel hungry. I normally do it when on Thursday evening I'm tired or whatever it is, right? So I need to watch out for that. You have a list of things to kind of watch out for, right? And you go, okay, if I get tired on Thursday, I'm most fresh on Sunday evening, is there something I can put in the freezer that I can then heat up or something that I can offer now to Krishna, so I don't do that thing. Yeah? If I'm going to get home every night and watch Netflix, what's my plan of dealing with my Netflix addiction? Right? Maybe I'll do a round of japa before that, and then after the thing, So you're kind of realigning slowly, Because you don't, at the moment, you don't have 100% taste for constant Krishna attraction, right? We don't, right? So we have to go, I've got like 5%, so if I can do 5%, which is the hard bit, when you start the car moving, it's the most amount of force to move it. But the rest of it is actually easy, so you need to focus on getting 6%, 7%, 10%. Right? You've got to do it slowly. But you only do that by going, okay, I spot this honestly in myself. And that's if you want to improve. Now, the advantage you have to Jnana is every subatomic atom has the 4-armed Vishnu form of Krishna in it, right? So as soon as you chant, you're getting purified. So all these things, which are your subtle body, so your physical body, and your subtle body is the mind, intelligence, and thoughts ego, right? Or as you chant and chant better and better, your impact of your previous lives is dissipating. So actually what you found very difficult to do to change a habit, you'll actually find it easier the more you chant. Because you don't have that kind of allurement to the material world the same way anymore. Okay? So this is why bhakti fuels bhakti, right? So sometimes, if nothing else works, just chant, or chant more deeply, because that will suddenly, what you thought you couldn't break as a habit will break. Because the subtle body has just changed. Okay? And you see people, I do things now which I do things now which I never thought I could do. And the things that now I used to think I won't be able to fix, I know I can fix. Because I know there's just the power of the holy name is so incredible. I know if I just keep chanting, that will go. And it does after a few months, that will go, that will go, that will go. Right? And what happens is as you see the process building and working, your faith multiplies. Okay? As the faith multiplies, you're going to surrender more and more and more, because what's going to happen is, just by going, this is my first time going to make breakfast for Krishna. The first moment you don't enjoy on your own, Krishna's now in your life in a more serious way, and you're moving a little bit towards him, and that little bit of surrender leads to incredible amounts of surrender over time. Right? Surrender is just a time-based process. Right? So, but we have to be active, because we want to reform ourselves. And here's the other little amazing secret, right? The only purpose of the material world was to reform you. So if you start doing the things that you're supposed to be doing while you're here, it's going to help you. This is Krishna's energy. It's here to help you get back to him. It's not here to make it really hard. It's not like school. We're going to make it really hard for you to pass this exam, whatever it is. Right? It's here to design to assist you. Like all sorts of little weird miracles will start happening in your life. Because this energy is totally under Krishna's control. Right? So ultimately, if you don't want to eat the chips or drink the fizzy drink or whatever it is that you think that you're enjoying for yourself, then ultimately you have to ask Krishna for that deliverance. And he can give that to you. Because that's what Bhakti is doing from previous lives, is removing that. Through getting association with Krishna, you're getting closer and closer to the spiritual world, despite being in the material world. I mean, Prabhupada was here, but he wasn't really here. He was as much as he would have been in the spiritual world. He was just in a physical body. That's why he was able to just be a pure bhakta all the time. Right? So that's just a basic bit of background. So the first thing we have to understand is, how do we get here? And that we have this tendency. And the reason we have to understand we have this tendency for trillions of lives Because otherwise we're going to be too harsh on ourselves. The world has been telling us, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, because it's doesn't have the knowledge of this, of previous karma, right? Why does the boy do his maths? Why does he keep looking out the window and painting? Well, because of his personality from previous lives, he wants to be a painter. The system doesn't understand that. So don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And it doesn't work. Like, you have to go with the flow a little bit. What you are. Accept who you are with kindness, and that is going to get you through developing your bhakti. Because you are a part of Krishna. So as much as you're going to be kind to yourself and you'll be kind to others, without that kindness, you're not going to grow. Okay? So it's like not overnight be able to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and chant 20 rounds. Right? It's not going to happen overnight. Like when I was young, I was going to temple and go, yeah, I can do that. That's like, what are they I've been out all night partying, of course I can sit there all night doing that. That's what I used to think, right? The next day I couldn't get up, right? And I go, oh, I just had a bad night. I'll do it next week, you know. I just come up with all these excuses, you know. And I didn't realise it took like 20 years later I was able to do these things. So that's like, you know. And I realised that, no, Krishna's also teaching me, like, ego, watch your false ego. Don't do what you can do, don't try and overextend. Don't try and be like, lift the whole building up. If you only lift a crane, right? But Krishna will come and assist. Okay? So what we'll do is I'll just redraw what we drew last week. If I can find the cloth. This is quite important to know. Okay? I don't know if that helps. It's quite a tricky subject. Yeah. So your list will be different to my list. I have a list too, right? So I used to watch Netflix too. But what I do now is either, if I'm going to watch Netflix, which is very, extremely rare nowadays, it's only because I'm so exhausted that I can't even do japa, right? But then I'll think, why would I want to put this pollution energy in my head, which is full of the modes of nature? So I'll just put, nowadays I just put Prabhupada on japa and just lie down, you know, put on the headphones. And after about 5 minutes of Prabhupada, hearing Prabhupada do japa, like you feel like you've had a 6-day sleep or something. You know, so energizing, you know. So, alternatively, if I can't do that, then I'll watch Bhagavad or something like that, like Krishna and Gita or something like that, you know, or watch one of the AI Krishna pastimes. So there are things you can do with, you know, to watch things to relax, if that's what you need to do. Right? Okay. So we start off with what's called the Vedic Bhakti process. And that leads us to bhava, which is feelings of intense feelings for Krishna. That's his regulative practice. So once we're on top of that, so you know, we're always going to do our however many rounds we have to do, 16 or whatever, you know. And then we do our bhava. But it's 16 in this con, 16, isn't it? So, and you've got prema, right? Which is where you want to be. Every morning when they do the arti, they'll say, you'll get your love, your ultimate aim is Krishna prema. They always end with that, don't they, when they do the offences against the holy name. But maybe they don't always know what that is. So Krishna prema is very, very specific, right? And you can't get to prema without bhava, right? So today I want to talk about bhava. So this is like what you're first aiming for, right? And this is in chapter 18 of Nectar Devotion. So before we do that, so there's 9 elements of bhava. We'll go through those. What's another name for this movement? I don't know if you know this. I think you might know. Hare Krishna movement, Discourse, what's another name for it? What's like the technical name for it?
Bhakti?
No. This could be a... Okay. This is effectively called the Rupa Nuga movement. I'll run it more clearly. Right? So this is the movement that follows in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, right? Who was the student of Lord Chaitanya. Okay? So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are two sessions, two core lessons, one given to Rupa Goswami's brother, Sanatana Goswami, older brother, and the younger brother, Rupa Goswami, there was like the number one disciple, pupil of Lord Chaitanya, right? So everything that we have, all the books that we have, everything we've got in the disciplic succession, all comes from Rupa Goswami, right? He's the master of what is bhakti, right? So he's written two core books for like us at the beginning stage, which is Nectar of Instruction, which is very thin, and Nectar of Devotion, which is a bigger book, right? And those tell you how to practice bhakti, what are the obstacles, what you're going to find as the obstacles, how to get over those obstacles, right? So those are very, very important. So that's like, when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, become my devotee, it's like you go and then look at what Rupa Goswami does, because he teaches the whole world about bhakti. Right? Okay. So, from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 18, we have so he's the one that says these are the processes. This is how you get to Prabhupada, right? This is what Prabhupada is applying, which is his teachings. Right? So we're going to look at what he says about bhava, which is this is the first thing we have to try and get to at some point. Okay, so that's in chapter 18. And this is quite. This is a book that you have to go quite slowly on, because there's a lot of like technical definitions and stuff. One through five. So chapter 18 is titled Characteristics of One and Ecstatic Love. So in English, this is in the book. It's translated as ecstatic love. Okay. That's how that's translated. Okay. So, for rule one, you want to use as much of your time as possible in Krishna consciousness. Time. Okay? Time. Now, in bhava, it's 24 hours a day. Someone's doing Krishna consciousness, right? So, as soon as they're awake, effectively, everything they're doing is in Krishna, just to do with Krishna somehow. Right? Normally direct service, but in some cases it may be like work and then dovetailing that. But normally it's always direct service. Okay, that's what you're trying to get to. Okay, so then you're always reserved. Okay, and persevering. That means you keep applying yourself. Because you start to develop this knowledge of the material world. You know how the modes of nature work. Yeah? So in the Bhagavad Gita, modes of nature explain, goodness, I want to do some charity work, so I feel good about myself and I help others. Right? Go to passion, I want to work, make money. Yeah, mode of ignorance, I don't want to do anything, I don't care if I hurt somebody, I'll drive like an idiot, I don't care about the rules, I don't care if there's a God. It's all about me, just eat, lust, mode of ignorance. So you eventually over time you go, okay, I can feel the modes, I know what the modes are. Right? You're watching TV, you're watching Netflix, and you go, well, this is one of the modes of nature, just a mode of ignorance. I don't want to get near the mode of ignorance. So you're very reserved, you're very controlled, and you're very persevering all the time. So you realise that I accept finding that I've been here for trillions of lives, I shouldn't have been here, so I'm going to put a bit of effort in. You're all probably doing that in your own way, so you're not stressed about that. Okay? Always detach from material. This is an important one. Okay, always detach from material attraction. So it doesn't mean you don't have the thought, I want to have those lovely chips with cheese on them and tomato sauce. Okay, that's not what it means. What it means is when you have the thought, you don't go put chips all over yourself, ketchup all over yourself, and I've told you how I eat down. Right, so you are able to control what you're doing, right? It's not like an impulsive. As soon as the impulse happens, I'm going to touch that thing. If you take a 4-year-old in a toy shop, they'll bloody touch everything, right? They won't stop. So you're not like that. And adults are like that as well. I've got pain, I'm going to go and spend it on beer. So 5. Now this is about here we go. We don't want anything in return. This is very important. This one thing that appears in prayer. You don't want anything in return for devotional service. Okay? You don't do any bhakti because you want something, right? So one of the things I've been training myself to do over the last, this phase of my life is I used to go, give me prema bhakti, give me prema bhakti. I'm doing chanting, now I go, I'm here for you, I'm not going to ask for anything. Whatever happens, I'm just going to do something for you every day. So that attitude, right? And it took me years. That's so many millions of lives of conditioning. Right? That's really about enjoying. Hang on, I'll do bhakti because I like to enjoy it for myself. It's the same as almost like materialism, but a little bit better. But it's all about me, right? If you remember my diagram about the naughty people who got thrown out of the spiritual world, that's not going to get you back into the spiritual world. Okay? What's going to get you back into the spiritual world is, hey, this is not about me anymore. And what you'll find is when this happens to you, one day you will wake up, right? If it hasn't already happened. One day you will wake up and you go, I don't feel this heavy weight on my shoulders. I don't feel any stress. I don't feel any anxiety because it's not about me anymore. About me enjoying myself. I'm here so Krishna enjoys me. Right? When that happens, it's like, yeah, I don't have to stress about work. I only go to work for Krishna. I don't have to stress about dinner. I'm only making dinner for Krishna. I don't stress about what I'm only doing it for Krishna. I'm only doing this for Krishna enjoys. I'm only doing this for Krishna enjoys. It's like you've had I've been to a psychologist, a world-class psychologist, and he's just turned your head around. 360 degrees, 180 degrees, right? A completely different person after that. What's the stress? We're in a material world to learn how to love Krishna, and we're waking up every day just to serve Krishna. And then you wake up in the morning, it's like, whee! It's so exciting, another day to serve Krishna. This is incredible. Right? Oh, wow, Krishna is so merciful. Do another day. You could have maybe go to work in a bank and buy a Ferrari, but no, I've escaped. It's all about you now. I've given up all this me stuff, right? Massively liberating. God, mind-blowing liberating, right? And your ego will be like, what was that person? God, it was so boring. It's all about him all the time, okay? Her all the time. That's quite important, right? Trying to get to that is quite important. Not easy, but quite important. Then you'll be like, but I want the chips. That's boring. Krishna's the one who does all the chips. Why do I want something that Krishna doesn't want? No, Krishna doesn't eat chips. No, he eats whatever Prabhupada is giving him. Right? Then that's where you need to be. See? And it's exciting because you're waking up and going, oh, it's breakfast for Krishna. But look at the world out there. Right? I don't do this in serial adverts on TV, but look at most people eating cornflakes. I've got to go to work. I've got to eat my breakfast. I've got to have some toast. It's not like, wee, I'm making breakfast for Krishna. It's not what they're doing, are they? Right? Because it's not fun being selfish. It's just shit. It's crap. Sorry, I'm going to swear words. It's terrible. Honestly, it's just not as fun. Right? Remember when you were a child and your best friend stayed overnight, your mum let him, and next day you had to make pancakes for him or something? Right? It was like fun, wasn't it? It wasn't being selfish. So that's what you're trying to get to. Yeah? So anyway, it's always very certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. Like faith, Now, knowledge helps, right? Knowing Krishna is here with you all the time, right? When you want something for yourself and you don't want him involved, that only happens, verse 15.15, because Krishna's allowing it. He's in your heart. You might go, I don't need to forget me, you're not going to have that. You might do that. Right? Because you would exercise your independence that way, go on. You can't have the chips unless Krishna sanctions it in that moment, when you have that thought, that desire. It's not possible without his intervention. Nothing can happen in this world without his sanctioning it. Right? So the control element is an illusion anyway. And once you understand the control elements of illusion, the surrender process is quite natural. Because there's not much left to surrender. You've already kind of understood that you're not the doer. Okay. Very eager to serve the Lord faithfully, so kind of cover that. Very much attached to chanting holy names. Yeah? So eager to serve. Chanting. Remember, knowledge, all the books, all the things you learn, are only to make you have deeper bhakti. Right? The purpose of bhakti is not to have knowledge. The purpose of all knowledge is to have bhakti. Prabhupada explains this in the first third, okay? So always eager to describe the transcendental qualities of the Lord, yeah? And he's very pleased to live in a place where the Lord's pastimes are performed, Mathura, Vrindavan and Dwarka, right? All thinking about them is what they say. Okay? Prabhupada was always thinking about Vrindavan. Well, should I go back to Vrindavan? Where can I go back to Vrindavan? Yeah? So those are the 9. You can see, you'll find it on the internet, but chapter 18, NOD, Vector Devotion, you'll find the whole thing. So this is what you're trying to aim for, and the process is, like, the more classes you come to, the more things you kind of read of Prabhupada's that will align you with this, it will just happen. Yeah? But the core thing that we do as Rupa Nugas, the followers of Rupa Goswami, is what we are, the core thing we do is the chanting. But the chanting is basically Krishna's presence with you. You become lost in millions of births in the material world, and suddenly Krishna is with you. As the mantra, he's actually with you. And get away from the material conception that he has to be a person that's with you. No, he can be with you as a mantra. As that mantra. He's with you as a mantra. So all the time you're associated with him, all your bad stuff from the previous lives is going. Yeah? And so the chanting becomes the core, the core element that will allow all this other stuff to happen. Right? But the enthusiasm will then serve. Okay, Krishna, you're with me, now let me go do something for you. Yeah, this day is about you. Yeah? And that's been reiterated. Yeah? And you'll find when you're having a shower and you're going, another day for Krishna. It's not the same as what was 10 years ago. It was, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Because I, me, it's about me, it's about me, it's about me. You've lost the shadow, the hallucination, right? You come out of the darkness. Okay? So the same job, it could be the same job. Yeah? But it could be, if I get a bonus, $150 bonus, I know I can get some Gitas and go give them in this place over there. That's my plan for Krishna. And then at work, you're like secretly going, looking at your phone, getting this picture of Krishna, I'm going to get the bonus this month. I'm going to get the Gitas out there. I mean, all my work really now is about this temple project, that temple project there, earn money to do this, keep this thing going over there, this bhakti thing over there, And it's not about me, it's like liberating, I found it like, you just realise you're not that interesting compared to Krishna, Now you're not about yourself, you can always keep reading about his pastime. Oh man, more about Krishna. Okay. So, Bhagavad, we have to get to, but the regulation is important. So who's doing 16 rounds? I know you guys are doing 16 rounds, aren't you? Yeah, ready? You've only just started there, on your Japa journey, haven't you? So you've got to look at, are you doing a round a day or a week, or as long as you're getting it done twice a week, 3 times a week, or whatever it is, it's the beginning.
Doing 1 round every day.
Amazing.
Since we started the practice.
I practice in the other place, yeah.
So,
That's amazing.
It's fun.
Yeah, yes, that's amazing, yeah. And just getting that will quickly turn to more, Because what we'll do is we'll do like group Japa sessions. We'll get you to come along.
Took me a long time to get to 16.
I'm sorry?
Took me a long time to get to 16.
Yeah, me too. I wish I'd done it. You know what, I was always getting, when I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s, I'd go, if I start doing that chanting, I won't go to the pub anymore. That's not really fun. So I just say to myself, I had a relationship with alcohol more than with Krishna. Although it was weird, as I got towards the end of that phase of my life, when I was doing it for too long, it was embarrassing coming from a family but as I came to the end of that phase, I was realising I would actually go to the pub and think of Krishna and go back to the temple. Because where I used to work was 10 minutes from the temple. And I didn't end up going on Harinam and going, and sometimes on Harinam I'd go, I've done 20 minutes, if I disappear now, no one will notice, there's a bar over there. So go in here, sneak off, go to the bar. I feel really guilty and I go, I'm really going to order a Coke. And what was the point? I mean, you might as well go back to Harinam. Order a Coke. Coke is so boring, get some whiskey. No, I can't do it. No, be good. It's like schizophrenia. That's like 25 years ago. But, Krishna's very merciful, very merciful. As soon as we're associated with the holy name, We go through phases of, there'll be a day, everyone has a day when they go, okay, now I've had enough of this, I've had enough as well. When you have that moment, then you're building up to that moment and you go, okay, Krishna. But that first round is most important because that's eternal. Once you do that regularly, 5 rounds, 10 rounds comes, whatever, however many rounds you want to do. Because you have to also believe in yourself a little bit as well. You need to see how you can do it consistently. So it's been a few months for you now, 2-3 months.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's amazing.
Yeah, maybe it's in my mind that if I do the second round, I'm like, I want to stay committed, and I'm like, what if I again go back to 1? So if I do that second round, I want to then do that second round.
Yeah.
So just
Okay, so when you're 20 years from now, I'll cut. You'll see that as what it is. It's a little bit of pride, but you understand that now. So I probably shouldn't tell you that. But what you should do is go, I'm going to do 2 rounds the last Sunday of the month. So that's how you start. And then you go, when you've done that for 6 months, you go, I'm going to do 1 round, and then the last Sunday of the month, I'm going to do 3 rounds. And one day what will happen is you'll do 8 rounds, but the power of the cleansing effect of that 8 rounds, you'll start doing it more and more. So you'll be doing 8 rounds last Sunday of the month, and 1 round, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 1 round, 3 rounds. And then what happens is it will just go up. That's how you do it. So you kind of go, just last Sunday of the month, just do 2, and then the rest of the time do 1. You come back to 6 months later, and then once you've got the confidence of that, I know what it's like, because the first time I did 25, I was up a hill or something. When I got to 16, I was like, I shouldn't do more, because tomorrow, if I do more, I know what I'm like, I'll do 0 tomorrow. I've been in 16 for like, God knows, for quite a few years. And I know, do more, do it. I feel like doing it. Kept doing it, kept chanting. And then, of course, the next day I did more as well. It wasn't like a kind of, because I got into it, so, but we have that fear, which is good, that's humility as well. Humility that, what if like all collapses, that's good, you want to cling on to Bhakti. But worrying about, Krishna is also participating in this process when he's here. When he arrives as the mantra, he's also here. It's not one, get rid of your ego, it's not like you in control all the time. That comes. But it's also Krishna is in control there as well. He's ultimately in control. If he didn't want you to find the mantra, you never would have found it. You could have looked, if you really want to find Krishna, right, and he doesn't want you to find him, you're not going to find him, right? Because if you're looking for him the wrong way, like some of these bad guys, in the stories, Sisupala, whoever it is, or, if you're going, you get hold of him, I'll scream at him. You're not going to find him, okay? But if he wants you to find him, and if he's like, why is the way we do japa so important? Because when Krishna is with us, he's also a person. So he's going like, do I want to be around this person all the time as my holy name? So if you're doing it like Hare Krishna, I see people on the phone, Hare Krishna, what's the tennis score? Hare Krishna, like Krishna, and you go, I really struggle with japa, sometimes I can't even do 16 rounds. Well, you're like, he's turning up and you're like, he doesn't want to be around you, so like you're not putting in the effort. I always used to say, when your friends come around and they sit down, you don't turn around and look the other way when they come to your house. So like you wouldn't invite him and start chanting his name, inviting him there, and then turning your back on him. So that's just But japa is key, and once that becomes happening, the rest of the Vedic Bhakti principles will happen, which is the no intoxication, no illicit sex and all that stuff, and no I should know this, no meat eating, no gambling, and all that, all falls into place. By the way, I've never understood gambling, so I've never done it. I never understood it. I thought it was just stupid. I thought it was bookmakers, a wonderful business idea for bookmakers. So you'll do those because you go, those please Krishna, those please Krishna. So, because Prabhupada says they please Krishna, that means Rupa Goswami knows they please Krishna. Rupa Goswami was with Krishna as Lord Chaitanya, it's like his best mate. So we're getting all this from Rupa, the whole book is from Rupa Goswami, best mates of Lord Chaitanya, right? So, You've got it almost like directly from, well, you have got it directly from Krishna. So you have to, just do these things, Krishna will appear. It's like if you tell somebody who doesn't have access to all the books, but wants to find Krishna, if I gave you a Harry Potter wand from the Harry Potter shop, you did this with it 4 times and Krishna would appear, would you want the wand? And I go, yeah. Well, these books are exactly what that is. This stuff is written by people who are totally devoted to Krishna. So whenever you do anything they say, he appears as the holy name, purely. And you've got to have that faith, total faith in that. Right, any other questions? Anything else on surrender? There must be questions on surrender, it's a big topic.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do, okay, I don't know. I just experienced something in my job. So, I don't know, I feel like there's always something going on. Like, the people who are not putting an effort, they just get what they want, and people like me who's actually doing the best of, like, it's a simple charm, like, you do 16 rounds, you do everything. I have no complaints. I'm not complaining. Like, I'm happy. Like, he has whatever he has given me. But I feel like some days it gets really worse, and you feel like, why am I here? I should just go. You know, like.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll answer that. Probably for you. I'll probably answer that a little bit bluntly. So, in the spiritual world where we want to end up, we're not really interested in what other people are doing. It's so much everyone's doing everything with Krishna. So the kind of idea of like, I'm doing this and they're getting a bit more or getting less, that's only like a conditioned conception, because everything they're getting is from their previous karma, good or bad. And actually, we don't necessarily have the intelligence to kind of go, what is good or bad? That's quite a subtle point. So if I see someone famous, Muhammad Ali, famous boxer, right? Very famous. I'm jealous of him. I mean, he's really famous, whatever. He's made lots of money. Everyone's got his poster in his bedroom, which he had about 50 years ago, a poster. But if you have spiritual knowledge, you go, well, is that a good thing? Because he's getting more attached to that fame. He's getting more fame. He's running out of some karma. He may not get a human form again. And the position of the Bhakta is always compassion for all living entities, right? So he was thinking like, well, that's not a good fame. He could have used that well for God. I'm not saying Muhammad Ali was like an atheist or anything. He wasn't. But you'd be concerned: is he using it the right way for God? Isn't it? And you think, oh, this person's earning more than me, but is he binding himself more and more in the material world? How is he going to get back to the spiritual world? Maybe I should show him a picture of Krishna for a few seconds, accidentally. Drop my book, Krishna book, near a bag near his floor, so he looks at Krishna. Give him a bit of mercy. So the Bhakta, because you're an agent of Krishna. Remember, you're now waking up every day going, how can I make Krishna happy? Right? Krishna's saying, you're helping me, you're using the material energy which I've created to help these conditioned souls reform themselves and come back to me. You're actually helping them in your material form. You're in this material body, which is my energy. He's using that energy for what it's for, helping this conditioned soul. So that's going to make Krishna happy. So the question is, what am I feeling, and is that a feeling that's going to make Krishna happy, or what should I feel that makes Krishna happy? So that's what you've got to try and work towards. I don't know. I sometimes fall back into these things as well. I go, maybe it's cool if I'd done that or whatever. But I go, no, Krishna's he's written a perfect script for me. Why should I even think like that? It's because I've got a tendency over millions of births to want to lord it over the material nature, which makes you think, I've got something material and they don't have it, or I have it, they don't have it, and they have it, and whatever. That's my material conditioning, and I need to let my devotee voice kind of take over that and go, no. And go, okay, that's really useful. I'm thinking that. It means I need to do deeper japa. I need to work on envy. I need to work on compassion for the other souls. Those are indicators I need to work on these things. But yeah, you need guidance as well. Like, you can't just sort of do it on your own. I'm telling you this because I've heard it from other people. So you always, whenever you think you might have envy, you always turn into compassion straight away in your head. And that will, over time, that will change as a habit. It won't be like, I've got, why does he get to do that service or whatever. The spiritual world is. So Rupa Goswami was Rupa Manjari. He wanted the assistants to the gopis, right? It's a highly pure soul. So he's never going to think, I'm not a gopi.
It's a gradual process, isn't it?
Right?
It's a gradual process.
Yeah, so, yeah, of course. Of course, yeah. Of course. And if I told this to myself at 24, I'd go, is that older me? Firstly, why the hell did I lose my hair? Secondly, how can I believe such nonsense? Okay, two things that come out of my mouth. Well, I'm probably too fixated on the hair because of bodily conception. But at some point, it's just sharing off, but that was later, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there are some days where you definitely feel like giving more, or it's natural and you feel a little kinder towards a person maybe you see needs your time or energy or anything, and you then connect yourself that maybe it's my way of serving to Krishna, like this person at the moment, okay, I'm making myself breakfast and this person right now is not in that state of mind to help himself or herself, let's say a friend, and I just go on to keep giving and giving and giving, and there are some, maybe then there's something you realize that okay, it's, I mean, you just want to step back, like, I don't know, it's a change of energy, state of mind,
Yeah.
but you need more work on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we see it as working for yourself or through others, or working direct, like for Krishna? Like, is it through different people, or yeah?
Okay, so like at a basic level, there's obviously direct service, which is Bhakti, 9 forms of Bhakti. Right, so you're doing hearing, chanting, praying, and so on, and listening, and serving the deity, and friendship, and all that stuff, up to complete surrender. So the 9 forms of Bhakti. So that's directly engaging with Krishna. And then if you're not doing that, you have to do the indirect route, right? And at the top of the indirect route is Niskama Karma Yoga, which is actions not for yourself, but for Krishna. Yeah? So the step before that is Sakama Karma Yoga, Karma Yoga, Sakama Karma Yoga, which is you're doing things for Krishna, but you're also materially enjoying. Right? You enjoy the work, you enjoy the material work. And over time, it doesn't matter what the material work is, as long as it fits with your nature, the product of that is going to Krishna. So you become like a tool in Krishna's toolkit. Right? So that the shift from those two things is a gradual process, and if you're concerned about others, do you mean about others when you're trying to convince others?
Yeah, like when I'm doing a task, I might be thinking about the other person or myself. How do I shift that to I have done that anyways, like for Krishna? So it then takes me away from I want to make it for myself, or I did it for other person but I don't want to do it. But how do I'm going to do this anyway, and like regardless of.
So how do you when you're actually doing it? How do you bring Krishna into that? Is that what you're asking? Or?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so when you're actually doing something, a material activity, my job is to replace, I don't know if this answers your question, my job is to replace wheels on cars in a body repair shop, right? As I'm actually intricately putting the wheel on, I'm not going to be thinking about Krishna, because the car might land on my head or something, right? That's my job, but the purpose of my job, I might be doing that job is, I can facilitate, pay for my home, pay for my electricity, which I need to kind of subsist on, and then I need to pay for my other Bhakti projects. Like I contribute to prasadam on Sundays or whatever it is. So I need this as a part of to sustain my Bhakti activities. That's the purpose of that work. But I'm a lawyer, when I'm drafting something technical, I'm not really thinking about Krishna. Although over time I've felt Krishna. So if I'm not thinking about Krishna in that precise thing, because I'm going to make a mistake, right? I can't be focused on Krishna. But the purpose of me doing that, the only purpose of it, is so I can assist other people in their bhakti. There's no other purpose for it, right? So, that happened over time. So there was, problem with like the profession I had is I could do a piece of work and get paid a fortune for it. So I could be doing the work and going, yeah, when I get this work, I'm going to buy another Porsche. This is the way I used to think like 18 years ago, whatever, or whatever it was. Okay, it's like, but now I don't think like that. I think, okay, I'm doing this, and then hopefully, and sometimes I'm tired, sometimes I don't want to necessarily do it. I go, Krishna says to Arjuna, come on, fight. You're fighting for me. There's no sin incurred. Right? The difference is, as soon as you're doing it for Krishna, you're not getting the good and bad reactions of that work. So you're not going to get, that's not going to bind you in the material world. So the knowledge is that I'm now doing actions not going to bind me in the material world anymore, or give me adverse karmic effects. So I'm now liberated in that sense when I'm doing this for Krishna. The action is transcendental. Right? Even though it could be pulling someone's tooth out as a dentist, fixing a wheel of a car, a lawyer drafting something, I don't know what your day job is, but looking after animals or whatever, whatever your job is. That's not important. You're using the material energy for Krishna, which is Krishna's energy. Right? The body is, this body that your soul is sitting in, you've just stolen that material energy. Krishna's given it to you from millions of births, allowed you to have it. So now you're using it for him. The tendency is you have to use it for him. So you're extinguishing all previous adverse karmas at the same time as well. Right? So all the things you did, all the desires you had to get this body to enjoy for yourself, you've now got rid of all the adverse karma because you're just doing everything for Krishna. You're using this product of your adverse karma. You're not a demigod or whatever, you just got this body, using it for Krishna. Right? So you don't have to actually think about, you can't do the work and think about Krishna. I used to get confused about this a lot, actually, myself. How do I draft this? How can I think about, we keep looking at Krishna, how do I do it? I just get really confused about this point. But actually you do your swadharma, your nature that you've acquired from previous births. By giving the fruits of that labour back to Krishna, you're actually giving all the whole process to Krishna. That's the process. As soon as Krishna is the end product, the whole process becomes Krishnified. It's not like a lawyer drafting, because the good and bad, and what happens as a result of what you do, you become detached. Because everyone else is going, I'm going to do this work to get this, to get my pay, so I can go on a holiday to enjoy sense gratification. Right? But your interest is slowly becoming, this is just about Krishna, this is just about Krishna. I know it's not good, but it's my fault in the material world, I've got this nature and I have to do this job. So now the best thing I can do is use it for Krishna. That is the best thing you can do. Right? Unless you're going to become a brahmachari and live in a temple or whatever, but you still got a human form, you still have to work in the temple. Right? You did not get a human form. That's your problem that you got it. So but Krishna is so enormously merciful that even this human form, you can get the joys of being in the spiritual world, which is the meadows of bhakti, by just going deeper and deeper and purer into your bhakti, into your sadhana, by focusing on the 9 forms of devotional service. Probably 8. The 9th form is complete surrender, so that comes. And complete surrender, so surrender and complete surrender. Complete surrender is, no matter what happens, Krishna will look after me. If I do 100% service all the time, I'm going to be fed and clothed. Krishna will see to that. And that's the biggest problem. If you're a fruitive worker, if you're a karmi, you work for money, you've got to go down a difficult road of taking all that money and giving it to Krishna constantly. But you should be coming to a point through that process where you're going, I only live completely for Krishna. In the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about surrender, and he talks about surrender in the sense there's 2 types of surrender. You can go and become a sannyasi, right? and you're always working for me, but you can still have sense gratification as a sannyasi, right? Or you can be a fruitive worker, but you're working only for me. And both those things are effectively equal. That's what he says in the first part of chapter 18. Arjuna's question in chapter 18 is, what is better? Becoming like a sannyas, putting on orange robes, living and working in the temple all the time, right? Or becoming a fruitive worker. He says the person who's understood the whole previous 17 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita understands that this is this material energy, the material body. So everything has to be used for me. So they're the same once everything is used for me. There is no difference. The material conception is, oh, that person's detached because he's living in a cave, right? But Prabhupada's always said, if you live in a cave, you're doing nothing for Krishna. What's the point? Because you're not going to go back to the spiritual world just by wearing a dress and living in a cave. It's not going to happen. That's not what the story of the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita is. Bhakti is, I've landed with this body, I'm good at golf, I'm the world's greatest golfer, so let me build 25 temples with all my golf prizes. That's golfer's bhakti. Nishkama Karma Yoga. 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So you need to know your nature and use it best for Krishna. Then all the problems of getting this nature are then dissipated. Yeah? But you don't have to come back here because you understood why you're here in the first place. You got your Batman origin story. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It becomes a practice. The more you come to class, the more you kind of read, the more you read, it will eventually become you. You know, like people think you're crazy, you don't understand this stuff. But actually, you look at the world and think it's crazy. You think, oh God, I've just figured out how to get out of it. And they didn't even know what the map is. They didn't know what the app. They didn't even know what the Google map is on their phone. You know, they're still looking for where's Google Maps on their phone. Now, I've found Google Maps. I've actually even found the route and know what to put in. I need to put a destination. Go back to Godhead. Boom. Here's the directions. Do 16 rounds. Do 4 regular principles. Get a spiritual master. Go deeper into my 9 forms of bhakti. Eventually become every day for Krishna, everything for Krishna, and be in absolute joy. Back to Godhead. Right. So imagine everyone out there was driving. They got up in the morning, got in their cars, and they suddenly forgot where they were going to go. They started driving. And they all started hoping at some point they're going to remember where they're going. They're driving around Adelaide. Right? As a spiritualist, that's how you see the materialist, people in the material world. And you're going to eventually feel so sorry for them. You're going to go, well, maybe I should show you where the map is and like where you can put where you need to go. And where you need to go is back to Godhead, and this is how you do it. No, I want to keep driving. I'll figure it out on my own. I'll keep driving around the corners. I'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. You know, that's what's going on out there. And then now you'll see the whole thing as bloody being completely insane. You know? Sorry. Well, I sound like an extremist. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like, you know. God almighty. Any other questions?
No, I think just as a takeaway for myself, what I took away or going to start practice is just first being true to yourself. That if I did an extra thing at my job, I did it to make an impression for my boss, and I know it. Okay, it was transactional. I did it so that she noticed that it was not for me or for Krishna. So at least I'm aware that I did this, but to make an impression, and I have to be. What are the things I'm doing it non-transactional like? Right, I understand. So the first thing is people go, if I work a bit harder, I'll get some money, I'll work for Krishna. I'll get more money. Or if I work a bit harder, I'll get some money, then I'll do something for Krishna. But if you work harder for Krishna, you already get, Krishna's the only person who can give you anything in the first place anyway. You can't get anything in this world without Krishna's sanction. So if you just do it for Krishna, you'll get the other stuff as well. Sort of devotee other stuff. But not that he wants the other stuff. So if you want to keep your boss happy, and the boss will think, oh wow, Puja, what an amazing employee. Just work for Krishna. Because Krishna's already controlling your boss. That's part of surrender, understanding that process. Work for Krishna. Keep the boss happy, really, without her knowing it, secretly. Krishna. Thank you for your presentation.
Kirtan Adelaide. Leave a like and subscribe.